You guys ready to get started? All right. So thanks for coming. My name is Matt Herron. I'm the founder of the Indie Authors Society and a science fiction novelist, and I have one nonfiction book called Scrivener's Superpowers. And I'm here today to talk about mailing lists for authors, or some people call them newsletters. So apart from writing in my freelance job, I also do marketing for tech startups. I work with several companies that have apps, and I do email marketing both for my author stuff, for the Indie Author Society, and for all my freelance work. So I have a breadth of experience using mailing lists. But today's talk is going to be specifically focused on mailing lists for authors and how authors can use them. So who here has a mailing list already, or a newsletter that they use? Okay, just a couple people. Who does not have one? Okay. So the first thing I always tell people, and we got this question earlier, was when's the best time to start your mailing list? And I always tell people now. But if I were to pick an ideal time, I would actually say 6 months before you launch your first book, because you need time to build it up. So if you don't have one, please start one today. It's free and it's easy. I put together 2 basics videos that you guys can see on the meetup page in the comments. The first one just walks you through how to sign up for Mailchimp. It's free up to 2,000 subscribers, so it doesn't cost you anything just to set it up for the first time. Now you do have limited access to some of their features, but that doesn't prevent you from setting it up. The second one shows you where to get the link that you can send people. So you could post this on social media, you can put it in the back of your books, you could put it on your website, and then it also shows you how to put Mailchimp's embedded forms, so it's this chunk of code that you copy paste from Mailchimp and put it onto your WordPress website. So that's all detailed in the video, and I encourage you guys, if you've never done this before, or it's your first time setting one up, to watch that, just because mailing lists are a particular kind of software, and if you learn how to do it in Mailchimp, you should be able to do it in any other software that you use for mailing lists. And there are several different kinds of softwares, and we'll go over those in a little bit too. So, and again, the best time to start your mailing list is now. Now, some of the people that I work with that use mailing lists don't use them to sell things. Some people just use them for their startups, for instance, might send somebody an email every time they have a new blog post out, or they might send somebody an email every time they have an app update or something like that. So not everybody uses them to sell things, but primarily what authors use them for is 3 things, and one of those is primarily sales. So I would say that of the newsletters that I send, about half of them are direct sales emails. It's like, hey, I have a new book, or this product got updated in audio, or this product got updated in print, or it got a new cover, or there's an anthology I'm involved in, or a giveaway or something like that. I want people to go buy something or get something for free. So apart from direct sales, there's 2 other main uses for author newsletters. One is engagement. So this is just telling somebody a story or emailing them just to stay in touch. If you think about old school newsletters, or like a Christmas letter that somebody sends every year, I would call those engagement newsletters. And this is just like a category that I made up to describe one use for them. The third is for developmental purposes. So startups, if they're using an email list for developmental purposes, might send a survey to ask people how they use their app. Authors would send out their books to beta readers or to ARC readers, if you guys are using those. So that is the third way. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions about the different ways? Okay. And feel free to just raise your hand and ask questions as we go along. Okay. So the next thing, once you have your mailing list set up, that I would suggest you do is to create some kind of reader magnet to get people onto your list. So before we explain reader magnets and why you need one, I wanted to take a step back and make sure that everybody has a good concept of what a sales funnel is. Are you guys familiar with the term sales funnels? I see some nods and I see some maybes. Okay, so the concept of a sales funnel is, you can picture it like this, like a cone, and it has a wide end and then a narrow end. So if your ultimate goal is to get somebody to buy your book, that's all the way at the narrow end, and getting somebody onto your list is all the way at the top end. So if you think about it like a step-by-step process, step 1, get them on your list. Step 2, give them something for free to thank them for being there. Step 3, tell them a little bit about yourself. Step 4, tell them you have a new book out. Step 5, they buy it. So that's narrowing them down all the way to the bottom of the list. And we use funnel because as people go from the top to the bottom of the list, you're necessarily going to weed people out. Your funnel's actually going to get smaller. And this is totally normal. For instance, if I have 2,000 people on my list, I might send an email and expect 40% of them to open it and 10% of them to click, and of that 10% that click, a very small percentage to buy. Now this varies from industry to industry, and it varies from author to author, depends how high your engagement rates are. I've seen authors who have like 20 to 40% click rates, and I've seen startups who have 0.5% click rates, and they think that's good. So it just depends on your industry, so keep in mind when you're looking at your numbers that everything is relative, and to judge based on your own standards and not some arbitrary standard that people set. But that said, so this concept of funnels is important. So the reader magnet is how you get people into the top of the funnel. It's the free thing or goodie you give them to thank them that encourages them to sign up. So if somebody finds your book on Amazon and likes it, and they're interested in finding out more about you, and you're not offering them anything for signing up, there's less of a chance that they would sign up than if you're offering them a free book or free short story or something else. Again, this depends on your genre. Does anybody have examples of good reader magnets that authors have used to get you onto their list? My favorite thing is a free novel. I know one cozy mystery author who gives out a book of recipes. That can work too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a whole book, especially if you only have one. I used a short story for a long time. And right now I use what I call the starter library, which I did not make up. I kind of stole it from some other author. I don't even remember who I stole it from anymore. But it's a set of stories. It's one novel and 5 short stories that are all sci-fi fantasy. So I find that it's a little bit more enticing than just one short story. So it's totally up to you, but you definitely need a magnet to get people on the list at a higher rate. Now, where do you put this call to action to get people into the top of the funnel? So different places that it can be found are your website. So I always have like a join my reader group or join my list link on the website. The front or back of your book. So if you've ever looked at a book on Amazon and used that look inside feature where you can see the first 10% and sample it, a lot of people put a call to action right at the front there so that even in the sample, if somebody doesn't want to buy the book, even in the sample, they get offered the reader magnet for free. So that's a really great way. Another place you can put the call to action is on social media and also at events. So I have this, I'll show you guys here, printouts that I use for events. I have 2. So the first is just a sign-up list. You guys have all seen these. You've all put your emails in them, I'm sure. So I go home and enter these manually. And the other way is I have this handout. That's to get the starter library. So I'll pass one of each of these around for you guys. It's just a visual way for them to see what I'm offering and a URL for them to go to get it. So that's my reader magnets. You guys have any questions about reader magnets, what they're for, why you use them? Yes?
I read advice about this sort of landing page that was, on your landing page, don't put sign up here. Put the free thing, like say, would you like a free novel, and then click on that. It takes you to like the sign up that people don't like. This sort of like, hey, sign up for my mailing list immediately. There's some cynicism.
Yep, sure. So the question is there, like, what copy should you put on the offer? So some people might say, click here to sign up for my newsletter. Some people might say, join my reader group. Some people might say, click here to get a free novel. And generally, the accepted wisdom is click here to get a free novel is more effective than join my newsletter because some people have like an aversion to newsletters. I think that is true, but I think if we were to split test them side by side, like it would be a small enough percentage, so I wouldn't worry about the copy too much up front. But you're right, and I mean that's a typical copywriting suggestion, which is give them actionable language, right? Not just sign up for my newsletter, you're telling them what to do, but you want to tell them in the copy what they're getting for doing that, right? So click here to get a free novel is better copy than click here to get a newsletter, or to sign up for my newsletter. It's just more enticing, right? And if you look at this flyer, the title on my landing page is Get 6 Free Tales of Madness and Wonder. Right? It's evocative language. It doesn't mention a newsletter. You're saying enter your email here and you're going to get these awesome 6 stories. And the mailing list is just implied. I mean, I figure if people give me their email, they kind of know they're signing up for something, right? Yeah, that's a really good question. Anything else? Yes?
What do you use to actually send the reader magnet to people's?
So the question is, what do we use to send the reader magnet to people once they sign up? And the answer is, in Mailchimp, they have a thing called automations. And basically that says that anytime somebody signs up for the list, automatically send them an email. And in that email, it says, click here to get the free book. And it's a link to download the book. So Mailchimp automatically sends the same email to anybody who signs up for my list. And you can test this with like authors who are in your genre, or if you go to my website at mgheron.com and enter your email, you'll get sent the starter library. But it's built into Mailchimp. So what you do is you create like a campaign, and you design the campaign, and it sends it automatically.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, you send them the link, are you linking to your website and then you're downloading,
So what I use is a system called BookFunnel. And BookFunnel is a system that allows readers to easily get the ebooks onto their website. But you could equally link to the EPUB file or the Mobi file. I've seen people do that. And you can host these files on your website. You can host the files on Dropbox. You could host it on any other FTP software.
But if you do that, if you
It's
just
harder to
leave
get
it
on the
in
device.
Or have it
Yeah.
on there, you've got to explain the whole thing of how they,
Yeah.
how they put in a a Mobi file or a .pub file. You've got to say, if they don't do that, you got to link to readers. You got to say, here's where you get your free.
Yep.
So it's better to go with what you were talking about because they do
BookFunnel.
all that work for you.
Yeah.
They have links for Amazon, Kindle, everything, and big explanations how to do it. So that's
Yeah.
the advantage of doing it.
Yeah, BookFunnel is definitely worth my time. I think every author who I know who's used it has said it's definitely worth my time. It's a monthly fee, just like most of the subscription software. It's bookfunnel.com. So just to give a brief history lesson, ebooks come in different types of files, like EPUB or Mobi or PDF. And then to get a Mobi file onto my Kindle, I actually have to go to Amazon, find the email I send it to, attach it to an email, and send it off, and then it appears on my Kindle. It's kind of cumbersome, but BookFunnel makes it easy. They tell the reader, open your Kindle, go to the browser, type in this URL, click here, and it just automatically loads it. So BookFunnel is really great. I definitely recommend that. Yeah.
is it about the same as InstaFreebie or is it different?
So InstaFreebie is a bit of a different software in that their job is to collect the emails and then to put them on, to put the email onto your list and to give somebody the freebie at the same time. BookFunnel just started, so how do I explain this? InstaFreebie is a mailing list growth software, and they were designed with this capture email, give goodie, right? Concept in mind. BookFunnel was just designed to get the books onto devices. That's their specialty.
One of the things that's problematic about InstaFreebie is that they are collecting InstaFreebie, the
Yeah.
company is also collecting the
Yeah.
email address. which I find
That's
problematic.
true.
Don't
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, so BookFunnel added these mailing list capture like landing pages eventually, but it wasn't their primary purpose. So it's just a different way the company was formed,
They're not skimming
you know.
customers.
Yeah, and so what she's saying is if somebody goes to InstaFreebie and gives InstaFreebie their email to get your book, both you get the email and InstaFreebie, the company, gets the email.
That's not true with BookFunnel?
No. Nope. Only you get the email. Yes.
Did I miss the part about how do you drive traffic to get to your reader magnet?
We haven't got there yet, but we will get there, yeah, for sure. You did not miss it, don't worry. Yes?
For BookFunnel, would you use that as well if you just have a free short story?
Yep. So BookFunnel's job is just to deliver digital files to e-readers. Just think about it as the delivery mechanism. Now readers, with tech support included, right? Because I can send you a Mobi file for any of my books, and you're a smart person, I'm sure you can go on Amazon and find the email and figure out how to do it, but it's really difficult. Like they don't want you to do this, right? It's difficult and it's cumbersome, and they do that on purpose, I think. So BookFunnel just makes it easy. And they also allow you to enter promotions and to like track how many people download your book and what your conversion percentage is. So, and they also make really nice landing pages. So when we get to the part about growth and how to grow your mailing list, I'll mention BookFunnel again because that's definitely one of the ways I use to grow lists. Okay. Any other questions before we go on? All right. Okay. So I mentioned this briefly. The next topic is automations. So what's the point of automations? Why do we use them? One, because it's very cumbersome for the author to keep track of how many people sign up for the list and to manually send them the freebies. And it's also, there's bound to be a delay, right? If somebody signs up for your list at 2 in the morning, you're not going to get to it till the next day. Maybe you have work. Automations totally automate this process. You don't even have to think about it. Somebody signs up for your list, they get the automations. You can also set up different automations to send specific things to specific groups. And if you're at that point, like you have multiple series or multiple genres, I think that, and you have questions about it, come talk to me afterwards. It's kind of complex, but just know that the automations are capable of doing that. They can send different things at different times to different people, and you can segment your audience. And we'll talk about segmentation in a minute. The other reason to have automations is to weed out people who are not fans of your audience. And I think people underestimate how important this is. You don't just want people on your list, right? And a good example of this is when I first started, I had basically like 100 friends and family on my list. And the truth is that they're just not readers of the genre and they're not going to buy your books. So the automations, by introducing the reader slowly to your work and to who you are as a person, are going to weed people out. And that's good, right? You don't want people who don't want to be there. You want people who are your fans to be there. Third reason for automations in the short term is to sell books. So you could follow up with a welcome series that first sends them your freebie, introduces them to who you are, and then says, hey, here's my new book, check it out if you like it, right? It's a good way to automatically sell books. And if you're giving away, for instance, the first in series, and the upsell after several emails where they get to know you is the second in series, they're going to be really likely to convert. So that's a great sales tactic. And then number 3, automations, long term, is just to make fans. It introduces people to who you are and it just provides a way for them to get to know you in a more intimate setting, right? It's not like them reading on your website or seeing you at an event with a bunch of people or just finding your book on Amazon. They actually get emails from you that tell you more about you, tell them more about you. Yeah.
So are you doing the newsletter instead of a blog or along with it?
I personally do both, but you don't have to. I send emails about twice a month. So one of them has a new thing and one of them usually has a giveaway, or I might vary it up, but on average about twice a month. And then I blog just when I feel like it. It's not like really a system. But unlike blogs, newsletters actually sell books. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about the purposes of each. A blog is not as effective at selling books as an email. It's just not. Any other questions about automations? I know we could go really in depth here. We could actually do a whole 2-hour talk on automations, but I'm not going to do that or bore you with it. But they're very powerful. And unfortunately, the free Mailchimp doesn't have them. You have to upgrade for them.
Did they not update that?
Do they?
I don't know.
Last time I checked.
You can do automations for free.
Oh, you can? Okay, great. They must have changed that. So now you can do automations for free on Mailchimp. I mean, that's really good, especially if you could do that for free up to 2,000 subscribers and not pay a dime. Why wouldn't you? Okay, next is segmentation. So segmentation is the word that marketers use for dividing your audience into more recognizable and specific chunks. So for instance, I write science fiction and fantasy. I could, if I want to, go and find out which of my readers are sci-fi fans and which are fantasy fans. If somebody writes romance and fantasy, you might segment your readers that way. Another way to segment them is by engagement rate. And this is how I do it on my sci-fi list. Because I want to know not only how many people are on the list, there's about 2,000 right now, but how many people open my emails, right? How many are engaged, at least there? And then how many people open every email? Those are like your fans, right? So you can use segmentation to really get down into who your fans are and how many of those people that are on your list are actually reading your stuff. So I really like it for that reason. It's to understand your audience. You could also segment by where people came from. So I have segments and groups. They're called in Mailchimp groups. They also have segmentation, but groups can be marked. I segment by groups for where they came from. So I use like the events that I got people's emails at. I'll make a group for them, just so I know where they come from. And also, the last use for it, at least that I've found, is to weed out people. So you can use segmentation to find who's not engaged and remove them from your list. Because again, you don't want people there who aren't there. And while people disagree on this topic of like pruning your list, that's how I feel about it. Yes?
So technically, how do you or how does Mailchimp know whether somebody's opening an email?
So Mailchimp and actually all email marketing services, they track open and click and everything. They track everything. So they can tell not only when somebody opened the email, but how many times you opened the email. They could tell which links you clicked. They could tell if you unsubscribed after that email. There's a whole bunch of different activity that you can segment by. And it's basically like, you can think about it, segmentation like search filters. So I can filter by anybody who opened my email in the last 3 months, any email. Or I could say, only people who opened the last 5 emails. And you can do this by basically search filtering and then saving that filter if you want to. So that's why they're called segments, because once you save them, it's a saved filtered search that you can pull up again and again. And that's how in my list I have the engaged subscribers, super fans, and disengaged people, right? And I can easily go in and check those out because I've saved the searches. Does that make sense?
Do searches update?
They do. So like as more people come into and out of the segments, the numbers update. Yep.
And if you did a search of the last 5, will it continually be the last 5?
Yep. Yep. So each different marketing software is going to have different parameters that they'll allow you to search by, and some are more powerful than others. But Mailchimp in particular does the last 5 and then the last 10. And I think one of them says subscribers who opened all of the last 5 emails, subscribers who opened any of the last 5 emails. So any of the last 5 emails might be just readers, and then all of the last 5 emails might be your fans, which is how I have it set up right now. Okay, any questions about segmentation that I missed? All right. So next section, one more before we get to the growth part of it, which I know we're going to have a lot of questions on. Excuse me, is the best practices. So I uploaded a PDF to the Facebook group. Unfortunately, Meetup does not allow files anymore. But if you log into the Indie Author Society Facebook group, there's a PDF file there, and I have it printed out. I only printed one because it's quite large. So we'll have to share. But I basically, over the last couple weeks since I've been planning this talk, I started collecting emails. I have one of Kate's emails in here. I have one of mine. I have emails from Jason Werbeloff, Brian Cohen, Ernie Dempsey. And these are just what I thought were good emails. And I also have some apology emails, and then I have launch emails from the Scrivener book relaunch. So I'm going to pass these around, and you guys can feel free to look through them. Here, I'll split them up. But they're just examples, and what I did, I basically took a screenshot of the top half of the email, anything that was visible, just so you guys can get some examples of emails. And while you guys are looking at those, I will talk about my short list of best practices. Okay, so best practice number 1, sizzling subject lines. You need great subject lines to get people to open books. I found that free works really well, but you actually have to have some free thing in there. The other stuff that works really well are the stuff that Jason Werbeloff does. So like his emails are like psychonauts and zombies, and just fun stuff that the readers are actually into. If you write romance, you might think about some romance-related subject lines. So subject lines are really important. They're going to determine how many people actually open your emails, and they can vary. So if you have a bad subject line, you might get a 30% open rate, up to a good subject line might be 60%. And that's just, an average. Obviously, your mileage may vary. All right, next one is not a lot of images. So I don't like more than 1 or 2 images in an email, and the reason is because it takes a long time to load images, especially on phones. So cut down on the images. The important thing with email marketing is not that you have a lot of pretty images, but that you're connecting with people. You're actually saying something they're interested in, and you're giving them something they want. And you'll notice when you look at these best practices emails, a lot of them are text only. A lot of them don't even have images. They're not formatted, they're not designed, it's just an email. And when you think about this, this was really freeing for me when I realized this. I used to think that I had to design emails like it was a brand, like I was a design firm. But people really don't care. They just want an email from their favorite author saying, hey, what's up? I got a new book out today, right? That's all you need. So a lot of these emails are text only. And a lot of them are very story focused. So they're telling you a story, right? We're authors. So use your storytelling abilities to write good emails. Mobile responsiveness. So this is the third best practice. Make sure your emails work well on mobile devices. At least half of emails are opened on mobile devices, sometimes more. Now, Mailchimp and most of these mailing list softwares come with templates that are mobile responsive. So use the templates that they're giving you. I would recommend just using a plain text email. and check it on your phone, check it on the computer. They also have a preview function within the program, so if you go into Mailchimp, you can preview it on different devices. It'll show you how it looks with some accuracy, but check it on your phone. That's the best thing you can do. Just make sure it's readable. A lot of the times people send me emails that they've spent hours designing and they have an image that happens to be too big that pushes the layout out and the text is like tiny and I can barely read it. So if they had tested on their phone, that wouldn't have happened. Okay, next best practice. Use a single call to action. So only one thing you want them to do in an email. I might include with a book launch a free giveaway as well. It's a different thing. But in general, try to keep the calls to action down, so only include one link. If you're launching a book, only include links to your book. Don't include 3 blog posts and a giveaway and another thing, because what you're doing is you're cutting down on people's intention. They're only going to click on a couple of them. Maybe they only click on one of them. You want it to be the one thing that matters. So cut down on the calls to action. A single call to action is going to be more effective than anything else.
Does Mailchimp, if you design whatever you're sending out in Mailchimp, does it automatically format that for different devices, or do you have to figure that out?
No, it should format it for different devices, but again, test because you can break it pretty easy. Yeah. But they do try to, like their templates are meant to be mobile responsive because they know this is a problem. And there are some, I don't know what email clients you guys use, but there are some like old versions of Outlook that your email is just never going to look good in. Don't worry about it. Just old software is just sometimes not supported, and Outlook is one of the culprits. Okay, style. Short and to the point, or does this require a longer sales letter? So I think everybody's different. You'll notice that different authors, and again, sign up for the lists of people in your genre so you can see what other authors in your genre are doing. But sometimes a longer sales letter is good. Sometimes a shorter one is better. I don't know. It really just depends on your situation. I prefer short and to the point, but sometimes a really long rambling story can make a reader's day. So experiment, see what people are doing in your genre, but style does matter. Whatever it is, I would stick to shorter paragraphs and punchier sentences. So just write like you're writing for the web, right? We don't need full-page paragraphs. Nobody's going to read all of that. But if you just give them a couple short paragraphs or even bullet points, they're more likely to get through it. Whatever it is, say it in your true voice. Don't change your voice for an email. So I think you should write your emails like you do your books in the same voice. Okay. Any other questions about best practices? What you should or shouldn't do? No? Okay. Fair enough. All right. Now we're to the part about growing your list. So, apart from setting up a reader magnet, what's the best way to grow your list? You guys have any thoughts? What's worked best for you?
First in series free with an offer.
First in series free with an offer, yeah.
That's my
Absolutely. So what Kate is saying is to get people onto her list, she gives the first book in her series away for free. And is it free on Amazon too, or just for the list?
No, it's literally free everywhere. I promote it completely unrelated to my list,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have a bonus offer in there that says if you want more of this, then you will get these XYZ things.
And that's like the second book in the series or a short story or something? Okay. So,
It's a whole bunch of I have
Yeah.
a lever too.
yeah, this is a great suggestion. So a lot of authors do this, and once you start digging around, I think you guys will start seeing the pattern. They give away so let's say somebody has a 5-book series. They set the first one to free on Amazon and the retailers so that anybody can download it for free. And in the front and back of that book, it says, did you like this free book? You can get some more free stuff by signing up for my mailing list, right? So without giving their email away at all, they got to try a free book. And if they liked it, they got an offer for another free thing to get onto the list. That's really common, and it's a great way to grow your list, especially if you write books in series. If you don't write books in series, I would suggest trying a short story that ties in, which, this is one of those do as I say, not as I do things, because I don't actually do this. But if you have a tie-in short story, you could give that away for free and give the novel away for free on your list, or vice versa. Yeah.
I love Mark Dawson's.
Mark Dawson. Yeah, he's great.
His dossier. So he didn't have anything free to give away, so he spent 45 minutes writing a dossier on this main character.
So Mark writes spy thrillers, right? And so his freebie was a dossier on his character. right? And it took him 45 minutes. I think he said he wrote it at work. And he gives that away for free. It looks like one of those old like redacted FBI files, right? And people who read spy thrillers really like that stuff. Same with Karen McInerney gives away the recipe book, right? She writes cozy mysteries. There's a lot of like baking and cozy mysteries, I understand. Not my genre, but I'm told that's how it is. So she gives away a recipe book, and her readers love it. So it doesn't have to be a book, right? You just have to think, how can I get them to try something of mine? And usually that's free on Amazon. And then how do you get them to get onto your list? And it's a reader magnet. Any other ways that people have used to grow their lists? No, okay, I'll go through mine. The most effective thing, other than free promotions, has been author group promotions. So this is finding groups of authors who are in your genre and doing a group giveaway. So maybe you all give away your first book in your series for free, but as a group, and you cross-promote each other. That's been really effective. People also do like signed book giveaways. They might do popular author giveaways. Like I've seen people who write fantasy giving away like a whole Harry Potter series. Or they might give away a $25 Amazon gift card or a Kindle or something like that. People like free stuff, and a lot of the times free leads to paid. So author group promotions are a great way to grow your list. Another way is to, oh yeah, go ahead.
Can you go into a little more detail about how the cross promotion works? And also,
Yeah.
give away a Kindle?
Yep. So basically, let's say 10 authors get involved, right? You find 10 authors who are in your genre, and you say, let's give away a Kindle. We'll all pool our money, right? One Kindle, yep. And then you all promote the same giveaway, right? So you're sending all of these readers to the same page, and then they sign up there, and at the end of the giveaway, a name is drawn and somebody wins the Kindle. Now you've collected all these emails. So typically what people do is they tell the people signing up front, if you sign up for this giveaway, you're going to get added to these lists. And usually they do like a double opt-in, right? So they'll make people sign up for the giveaway, and then they'll say, do you want to also be added to these authors' lists? So they have to double opt-in. And I find that's really good because it ups the quality, right? Because then you're not like scamming people. You're saying, hey, sign up for the giveaway. Just kidding, you got put onto 6 different lists, right? That's kind of annoying. So what we do is we make people sign up again, a double opt-in, so that they know that they're getting put on these lists, and it narrows the funnel, right? You just narrowed the funnel to people who want to be there.
And the second opt-in, frequently these are set up by pros often.
Yeah.
Have an actual checklist where people can pick.
Yeah, which
opt
authors.
in the specific author that they want, so that you know you're getting people who are interested
Mm-hmm.
in your genre. Because I write paranormal cozies, that includes like witch cozies, and that includes like it's actually very delineated.
Yep.
You know, beyond that, so that people can go, oh well, she writes blah blah, I want that.
Yep. So there's one at scifibridge.com right now that I'm a part of. I just blogged about it the other day. Basically, this is how it works. You sign up for the giveaway, and they're giving away, I think it's like 60 signed books. I signed a novel and sent it in, and there's like 60 authors. So they've separated that into, there's going to be 6 winners. One winner wins all the space opera books, one winner wins all the post-apoc books, one winner wins the Kindle, one gets the $25 Amazon gift card. It's huge. And then after you sign up for the first time, also when you sign up the first time, you get 6 free ebooks just off the bat. And then there's a form that says, do you want to get put onto these other author lists? And you opt in by genre. Space opera, post-apoc, all of them. And they just check boxes, and then at the end of the giveaway, the authors involved will get whoever opted into their category, right? Does that make sense? Okay, yes?
Is there a service that you use for this?
No, they're usually put together manually. So somebody will build a landing page on their website, embed Mailchimp's forms, and then the thank you page will have another form with another list. It's kind of complicated. But BookFunnel does have giveaways that you can join. As long as you're a member of the right BookFunnel plan, it's very easy. You just like submit your book, and then when it's done, your book gets added, and it's painless. So BookFunnel has some, and then the other one is InstaFreebie. So InstaFreebie is kind of a similar thing.
I think right now the big thing used to be a big thing was, there were promo groups who were doing it. Like Ryan Z was one. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yep,
with that.
yep.
Yeah, so there were promo groups that people were using, and then they quickly maxed out. So the big thing right now, basically, there are Facebook groups that are set up, and authors will go and by word of mouth recruit people that they know are specific to their current genres, and those are a really great way. I'm in an anthology through one of those. I've done a cross promo through one of those. Cam Hodge is terrifyingly good finding those and utilizing them.
Yeah.
So she's a good resource, and she's on the Indie Author Facebook page.
And this is one of those things where it's hard to suggest what's going to be best for you because it depends on your genre. But like Kate said, there are tons of Facebook groups, hundreds of Facebook groups where authors of a similar genre have banded together to grow their lists. So I would encourage like just searching around for Facebook, on Facebook for these groups. So let's say you write mystery, right? Historical mystery. Go on Facebook, search for historical mystery author cross promo or something like that. Some variation of author cross promo with your genre and see if there are any groups. Otherwise, I know there are authors of all sorts of genres in the Indie Author Society. Find other authors here who are in your genres and talk to them. It's very, very genre specific. Yes?
Is there any way to contact the Goodreads people? Like, people who review the book on Goodreads and stuff? There's not a Goodreads.
You can message them through Goodreads, I think?
Yeah,
Individually?
I have.
Individually, yeah. There's no mass way to do it because Goodreads doesn't want you to spam them.
Yeah.
So they don't make it easy.
Really nice. I did that, and most of them didn't. So I had some really great answers back, and some of them even went on to become beta readers for the next quarter. So some are open, some aren't.
Yeah. But I know there's a YA sci-fi and dystopian cross-promo group that you should find. It's a very specific, like, YA sci-fi dystopian genre on Facebook, yeah. So I know that these are out there. No matter how niche your genre is, there is something for you. You just have to find the people. Okay, another great way to grow your list is to publish a new book. Everybody likes new stuff. Every new book is a chance to reach new readers and a chance for them to get on your list. Try different reader magnets. If you published a book and your list didn't really grow, maybe your reader magnet's not good enough. Try a different one.
One thing I've seen people doing is they take something that isn't similar to what they're writing and promoting and give that away. And I'm
Yep.
like, why are you giving away something that isn't
Right.
what you're writing?
I would never give away my post-apocalyptic thriller novel for my like teleportation, sci-fi. Like it just doesn't fit, right? People who like one don't like the other. But if I were to give away a teleportation space opera sort of thing, they would be into it. And that's kind of why I do the starter library, because I write, varying genres, even though they're all like sci-fi. I write varying genres, and there's a little bit of each in that starter library. So maybe they don't like the novel or one of the short stories, but they like the other ones. That's great. It'll still entice them onto the list. It gives them options. I like giving people choices, but not too many. Another way to do this is to post on social media. So just every once in a while say, hey, remind people, hey, you guys can get a free thing if you sign up for my list here. Or, hey, this is a great way to do it. I have a big announcement coming up. I can't tell you, but if you sign up for my list, I'll let you know as soon as possible, right? Because that gets the mystery going. They wonder what you're going to post about. And I always do this before I have a new book launch, if I remember. It's like, oh, I know I have a book coming out next week. I'm going to post on social saying, hey, I have a book coming out next week. You'll know early if you sign up for the list. And it always gets a few people. It's not like a big growth opportunity, but it always gets a few people. And maybe it's that person who's been following you for months but just hasn't made the commitment yet. You never know.
I do that when I don't have a landing page.
Yeah, yep.
At the back of my book, I'll say, I'll have some little snippet that I'm going to yank from that book, and they know because they've read the book. And they're like, oh, okay, the next book's probably going to be about XYZ because you made a big deal out of XYZ. So I'll snip that. I'll put it in. Oh, if you want to read more about XYZ, sign up for my mailing list, and you'll get a release announcement.
Yep.
It's actually the call to action at the very, very after the last chapter.
Yep.
But I only do that if I'm on the landing page for next book.
Right, right.
Do you ever give away the first chapter of the next book?
Yes.
So what I just recently did as an example of that is I created what I call a reader journey, and I went, okay, so every product I have, where do I want them to go next? And then I handed it to my VA, and I said, will you make sure that I have really good excerpts for the reader journey next step, and that it ends on kind of a cliffy, good point with a call to action with the retailer-specific link. So yes,
Yeah.
do that.
So we haven't
And knowing when and how to cross over for series, because I have multiple series.
We haven't really talked about open and closed loops yet, but I think that this is a really interesting time to introduce the concept, because basically what you're doing is you're saying, hey, do you want to find out more about that subplot that didn't resolve? Check out the next book, right? Or let's say a lot of my books end on kind of like hooks, like cliffhanger-y hooks. Say if you want to find out what happens, or you want to find out what's beyond the wall, sign up for the list and you'll get the next book. Or I'll tell you about the next book when it's ready, right? It doesn't matter. It's the concept is you increase the intrigue and the mystery by asking them a question that you haven't resolved, and you tell them that to answer this question they have to get on the list, and then the question is answered with whatever your next book is. Or maybe you answer the question with your welcome email, right? That works too. There's one sci-fi author, actually sci-fi fantasy, I guess, who does a really good job on social media, posting for her Patreon and for her mailing list. Her name's Cameron Hurley, Cameron with a K, and she writes like really dark fantasy and space opera and a little bit of nonfiction. And she posts every day some like teaser tagline to get people into her Patreon, and a little teaser tagline to get people onto her mailing list. And I assume she wouldn't keep doing it if it wasn't working, but she picks like nice photos that match her genre. She has good taglines. I think she's a copywriter. Just on Twitter. Yeah, just on Twitter. They're great. Yeah, she does a really good job. So social media definitely works if you know how to use it. Okay, so those are all the things I have listed for growing your list. Anybody else have anything to add?
Do you still do any kind of Facebook push?
No, I should mention this actually, yeah, Facebook ads. So I used to do Facebook ads offering the reader magnet. So it was basically a Facebook ad, brought them to the landing page where they signed up for the list and got my starter library. Same thing I was offering on my website. The difference is with Facebook ads, I could reach people who didn't know about me. And I got 250 people onto my list that way. The downside is that you pay for it, but it's a cost per click system, so it depends how low you can get the cost. But I think it came out to like 50 cents a subscriber, which isn't bad in the grand scheme of things. I know a lot of startups that'll pay $50 for a lead, so I figured that was pretty good. So Facebook ads definitely work.
And you can be very, very specific on who you target. Like, say, for instance, I know Matt writes exactly the same kind of, or really close to the same kind of book I do. So I go ahead, and the very first thing, just like when you start your mailing list, first thing you do is add a pixel to your page, so that means anybody that stopped by there is going to be automatically a part of your list that you can target. So anyway, Matt, say for instance, at the same time, so I target Matt's people. I target fans of Matt on Facebook, and I can get my ad to his group of people.
The one caveat is that Facebook won't let you target people unless they're big enough, right? So like Mark Dawson writes the spy thrillers. I know he targets Jack Reacher because Jack Reacher has a big enough following, and he knows that that audience, the makeup of that audience, is very similar to his audience, right? Like I might target Orson Scott Card, right? Or fans of Ender's Game the movie, right? You can use these now. A lot of the times the indie authors can't be found on there, but the big ones definitely can. So if you know like The Hunger Games, you can target her. J.K. Rowling, you can definitely target her. All the big names. So Facebook uses a targeting system to show ads to people. And it's basically like anybody who likes this page. So if I target Jack Reacher's page, anybody who likes Jack, when you set up a Facebook ad, they allow you to pick targeting. Yeah, it's basically like a set of parameters. So you can target by demographics. You can target women over 55, right? You could target men under 24. You can target people who like certain pages on Facebook. You can target people who like Kindle. So I might, for instance, I think I was doing my targeting on people who liked Kindle and one of these sci-fi authors. That might be a very simple way to target people. So it's complex, and again, we could go into a whole nother discussion about Facebook ads. But yeah. Yep. And there's a bunch of free videos on Facebook ads. I know Mark Dawson does a free webinar every couple months, so just keep an eye out for those. A bunch of free podcasts on the subject. Okay. So in summary, what are newsletters for? Finding the right readers and turning readers into fans. So those are the two big things. Selling books, yeah, I think that goes without saying. So those are my summary points. I have a little bit on the mailing list software options if you guys want to hear. There are basically as many mailing list software options as you can possibly think of. I've narrowed it down to my favorites. So number one is Mailchimp. Mailchimp is like the industry standard. It's free up to 2,000 subscribers, and I learned today that it has automations for free as well, so that's awesome. I would use that one. It's my favorite. It's also the one that's been around for the longest. It's proven. It does get expensive at scale. So if you find yourself in a position where you're like, I'm going to have 20,000 subscribers soon, Mailchimp is going to charge you $150 a month for that. So there are cheaper options, but I think Mailchimp is the industry standard.
Question on MailChimp. Can you operate MailChimp independent of our website?
Yes.
Okay. So, and how difficult is it if you start a MailChimp process to build readers? How difficult is it to integrate that into your website at some later point?
It's pretty easy. So you should look at those basics videos that I posted because that shows you how to do that. So the other couple that are really popular, there's one called Convertkit. That starts at $29 a month. It's more high-end, I find. Active Campaign is as low as $9 a month and up. Active Campaign is supposedly really good for complex automations. I've never personally used it, but I hear a lot of good things. Aweber is another really old standard. I would not recommend Aweber. It's old, it's outdated, they haven't updated the interface of the software, it's complicated, and it's very expensive. So I would stay away from Aweber if you can. And then the cheapest option, and the one that I've seen a lot of authors move to, even move away from Mailchimp, is called MailerLite, MailerLite. It's free up to 1,000 subscribers, $10 a month after that, and you can get up to 50,000 subscribers for $140 a month. That might seem like a lot at first, but trust me, it's not. That's really, really good. So MailerLite is probably the most affordable option, and I've seen a lot of indie authors use it because of that. So, like I said, most people use Mailchimp. Mailchimp's industry standard, but there are options, and my second choice would definitely be MailerLite. So just scope out the options, see what you need and what's good for you, and go with that. It's not too hard to export a list and switch. I haven't done it because I'm lazy, but if I wanted to save money, I could export and switch to MailerLite in a couple hours. It's not too hard. So, yeah, that's all I got. Do you guys have any questions? Any more questions? Yes, sir.
In terms of ROI, time, energy, money, what's the three most effective ways of getting subscribers?
So I would probably say the author group promotions is number one. BookFunnel Insta Freebie, probably number two. And then new books, I guess. I don't know. I don't think Facebook ads has a really good ROI. It's kind of just pouring money down a black hole when you do advertising at a certain point. You know, like I said, over the course of a couple months, I used Facebook to grow my list by about 250 people. Some of them are still there. Some of them are still really engaged. I found that the engagement rate was lower with Facebook ad people than it was with organic subscribers, obviously. But then I did some group promotions, and it just blew what I did in Facebook totally out of the water. So the group promotions have been far and away more effective than the Facebook ads. And that's probably the most effective thing I found is the group promotions. I don't have enough books, though, to do a first in series free yet. So I don't know over time if that might be a better ROI. What do you think, Kate?
I mean, every time I put a book up, I just have insane
Yep.
subscribes.
Yep. On the free book. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Via the free book.
Free is a really powerful tool. I think people underestimate how powerful free is. And again, like I said, I work with startups as well as authors. And free converts to paid at an alarming rate. You would think that people, and I hear this all the time, oh, they're only there for the free thing. And sometimes that's true. Like a lot of people get into Insta Freebie giveaways because they're just hunting for free stuff. They load up their Kindle with free stuff and they tear through it, or they throw half it away, or they don't even open half of it. But that said, free is the best way to get people on your list. And I know people have joined for free things, have bought things from me. And it happens from the startups too. Like our highest, converting keyword is free. It's weird, but it's true. Yes.
This is a personal writing question. It's just how do you split your writing time between like your blogs and your newsletter and fiction writing? Do you do it? Do you split the day? Do you do one day and one? And
Well, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask this because I write full time. So like my freelance work and my author work, between the two, I'm full time writing, right? So I get up at 9 o'clock and I write until 6 o'clock at night. But what I try to do is the fiction writing first, then my client work, and then marketing stuff is just like in between, But honestly, like now that I have, like a system, the 2 emails I send every month take me, I don't know, an hour or two. it's way more work to do the fiction writing. Like, way more time I spend writing fiction than I spend on the marketing. I am kind of constantly watching Facebook to see like what new promotions there are. But like BookFunnel's promotions are awesome. I love them because they send me an email every time there's a new one. So BookFunnel definitely has my 2 thumbs up. It's a great service, and it cuts down on a lot of the work, right? If you're worried about like time spent telling people how to get Mobi files onto their Kindle, BookFunnel. Where to find promotions, BookFunnel. So between the Facebook groups and BookFunnel, I kind of like have a monitor on it, and then I don't have to worry about it so much.
I used to answer tech questions because when I started out at the very beginning.
Diane, we have an operator kit back
I don't want that kind of relationship with my readers. Yeah. I want to talk to them like I'm an author. I don't want to talk to them like I'm their tech geek. Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep,
was
I got that
okay.
too.
Like even if I could solve the problem for them, I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to change that dynamic.
Totally agree. But yeah, it should be like a fraction of the time. But I will say, like, people respond better to an expected contact, right? Like something they expect to happen. If you email pretty regularly, like once a month or once every 2 weeks, consistently, you're going to get better engagement, and it's going to take you less time because you're doing it every month. So if you just think like, I'm just going to write them a letter every month, I'm going to tell them a funny story, or you don't have to have a new book out. Just tell them what you're working on. Ernie Dempsey, who's in the examples here, he's launching a new book in his thriller series, and I've gotten 3 emails from him that were not about sales at all. He was telling me he had a new book. He told me a cool story about the new book, and he said, hey, reminder, my new book comes out next week. Here's the cover, right? That's 3 things where I did not have to click away. All I did was open the email, read it, and now I'm like, oh, this is fun. Send me more, right? Like I'm interested every time his name pops up. I know that he's not going to be pushy. I know he's not going to be salesy. I know he's not going to try to sell me a $5,000 course. It's just fun stuff. I haven't even read his Ernie Wyatt stuff, or his Sean Wyatt stuff, but now I want to, because he was telling me stories, right? So like, right, exactly. He does great emails, and I know at some point he's going to say, hey, my new book's out, go buy it, but that's okay, because he's entertaining, right? And isn't that what your readers want anyways? They want to be entertained. So just do what you do with your fiction and entertain them. It's just that this time you're telling them stories maybe about your life or about your writing or some background info, right? I've seen a lot of people do like, oh, I did some research into like, I don't know, Navy SEALs. This is interesting. I have Navy SEALs in my book. It doesn't have to be complex or it doesn't have to be a new product. Just tell them a story. Any other questions?
I don't know if it's perfect.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
My question I asked you before.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what was it? How do I segment specifically based on clicks?
Yeah. Yes. So anybody who wants to stay for a little while, did you bring your computer? Because I didn't bring a computer. Okay, so Kate brought her computer, and you guys can look over our shoulder while we segment an audience. I'll just show you where to find the segmentation stuff. But just for the camera, real quick, if you go into your lists in Mailchimp and open the list so you can see all the emails, the segmentation's on that same screen. So it's just right in there, and we'll check it out. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks, guys, for coming. My pleasure.